Hey guys, Nitsahone here. I'm here with sort of an impromptu video. I have sort of a set schedule wherein I post a draft video every Monday, and I have, budget deck series that I do every other month from the 15th to the 15th. The next one will be starting on June 15th, and those budget decks are supposed to be, relatively competitive decks. But today I wanted to talk about a deck I've put together that's like super budget and it's also super casual. I don't have any illusions about it being competitive, but it's definitely a lot of fun to play. And it's a deck that I'm calling Every Day I'm Shuffling. And the deck's based around shuffle effects. There's basically only three cards in Magic that care about shuffle effects, and we have the two that are any good in our deck. So we have Psychogenic Probe. So anytime any player shuffles their library for any reason, it does 2 damage to him or her. And Cosi's Trickster, which gets bigger, it gets a +1/+1 counter anytime an opponent shuffles his or her library. And so this stack here of 16 cards are all shuffle effects that we can initiate. It's important to remember that most decks also have their own shuffle effects, especially if they run fetches and things like that, and many decks do if they're more than one color. But we have our own shuffle effects here. We run Ghost Quarter, which is just a good card in general. It can blow up enemies' non-basics and hurt their mana fixing. They don't have to search their library when they do this, but if they don't, then they're down a land. It basically turns this into a strip mine, and I'm okay with that. We also have Void Stalker, who is a pretty good spell in general, a 2-mana 2/1, who can work as a removal spell if you pay 3. It shuffles itself and any target creature of an opponent's into their library. That means it can deal with indestructibles, creatures with persist, and all sorts of things like that. We also have Life's Finale as our board sweeper. It's like any big board sweeper. It destroys all creatures. But in addition to that, I get to search my opponent's library for 3 cards, creature cards, and put them into his or her graveyard. So not only do we nuke their board, but we get to search their library for 3 cards and put them in their grave. And then their library shuffles, and if we have one of these in play, it's going to hurt them. Mimeofacture lets me choose any permanent my opponent controls, and I can search their library for a card with the same name and put that onto the battlefield under my control. It also has Replicate, which is almost never relevant. It's 8 mana to get 2 copies of a card, but just 1 copy is good, especially if you have one of these in play. Then we have Shimmy Inspector, who anytime he hits the opponent, I get to look at their hand, choose a card from it, and then nuke every copy of it from their deck. And we have probably what's our biggest win condition. Like, these things are supposed to help us get there. And then eventually we're supposed to play Never-Ending Torment, which is one of those epic spells from Kamigawa block. Once I cast it, I can't cast a spell for the rest of the game. But at the beginning of my upkeep, this spell casts for free every turn. And I get to search my opponent's library for any X cards and exile them. And then their library shuffles. So again, with these in play, it's also going to damage them in addition to sort of neutering their library. So in addition to sort of this shuffle core we have right here, of all these cards relating to shuffling, we also have Chronozoa in our deck. This is because of Never-Ending Torment in large part. If we have a Chronozoa out when we Never-Ending Torment, and we hit all our opponent's removal when we Never-Ending Torment, or as much as we can, our Chronozoa can just live indefinitely and help us whittle down their life, because anytime it dies, if it has no time counters on it, it puts 2 tokens that are copies of it onto the battlefield, and those 2 tokens have Vanishing 3 as well, and they just keep multiplying. So we have a couple of those as sort of something to do after we Never-Ending Torment. We also have, the typical cheap black removal suite of just Doomblades and go for the throats. And another thing you can do even after you Never-Ending Torment is play channel effects from Kamigawa block. And Ghostlit Warder is one of the better channel cards from that block. Even if he's in play too, I can use his ability even after I've cast my Never-Ending Torment. But I can also channel him from my hand because you're not actually casting it. And then I just have a little bit of card draw. And this deck, like I said, is crazy cheap. Let me pull this over from my other screen. But it's about $5.53. And that's because we have lands in it. Before I put lands in it, it was under $1. Almost all the cards in it are 1 cent. A few of them are a few more than 1 cent. The Underground Rivers and the Drowned Catacombs are what really take up the bulk of that cost. About $4, $4.50 of the whole cost. So yeah, I'll show this to you again, and you can see that I'm not making it up. This is the whole deck list, including the sideboard, which I haven't actually shown you yet. Yeah, lots of the cards are 1, 2, 4 cents. And then you have Drowned Catacomb and Underground River, which together are, $1.40 and $2.96. So it's pretty expensive. The lands are. So you could, if you wanted to even make this even more budget, you can make it for about $1 on Magic Online, about a ticket. We also have a sideboard here. We have a few more shuffle effects in our sideboard. We run Thada Adel because against an opponent that runs islands, even if they don't have any artifacts in their deck, I can still search their library every time I hit them, and then she's unblockable and she can help everyone else. My other, shuffle effects against a deck that wants to reanimate or plays Lingering Souls or plays Snapcaster Mage, I can use Learn from the Past at instant speed to cantrip and shuffle their graveyard into their library. And I also have Quash against really spell-based decks, especially like a combo deck where I can just quash their winning spell and exile all copies of it. It can also just be good against any spell-heavy deck because of the shuffle it causes. And then we have 2 Doomblades, 2 go for the throats, because one destroys non-artifacts, 1 destroys non-blacks, and so against certain opponents we want a 4 of each. We also have Cranial Extraction for the combo matchups. You can search you name a card and just get rid of it when you name Cranial Extraction from everywhere it could possibly be, and then it shuffles their library. I have 1 Eradicate. It's in there. It's like Quash except for creatures. It can only exile non-black creatures. That's why I'm pretty reluctant to mainboard it. But it's pretty great against opponents who run like Persist and Undying and Indestructible creatures, because it also hits all their copies. Then we have a Third Life's Finale if we feel like we need, to have a better chance of hitting the board sweeper. So that's the deck. I'm going to play a few games with it. It's not like one of my more organized series where I, play a few games, make some changes to it, and so forth. I'm just going to play a few games with this to show you guys what it's like, and that's pretty much it. Probably just 3 or 4 matches against people, just to show you the fun stuff this deck can do. And yeah, so thanks for watching, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment if you enjoyed the video.